What do you wish more people knew about how our brain works?
Oh boy. Yeah, big question. There's so many different parts of the brain that have special functions, right? And if somebody is having an issue with certain abilities, certain behavioral issues, certain symptoms, it would be useful for them to know like which parts of the brain might be having an issue and to be like have brain health come to mind, right? So I first got into this when I was researching for a TEDx talk that I was going to give, to share how I became like a hypnotherapist and how it helped me. And when I was looking through the internet to see what TED Talks exists already about mental health, I discovered Dr. Daniel Amen of the Amen Clinics. So he used to be an Army psychologist, and he began his TED Talk, which I think is called What a Psychiatrist Learned After like 90,000 Brain Scans, viewing 90,000 brain scans. And he said, does anybody else think that it's odd that today we are diagnosing mental health issues the same way Abraham Lincoln's depression was diagnosed in the 1800s, which is just by listening to somebody's self-report for a few minutes and then giving them a diagnosis and treatment plan, including like medication that can literally alter their brain behavior for the rest of their life without having actually looked at the organ first. Like nobody is going to the doctor complaining of chest pains and the doctor hears them out for 5 minutes and assumes it's like acid reflux and gives them a prescription. They do like actual heart monitoring and lab work and stuff like that. So anyway, when it comes to brain health, for instance, people's prefrontal cortex, their frontal lobe, that part of the brain is responsible for attention and judgment and planning and organization and understanding logic and consequence, creativity, problem solving. So when somebody is having issues with a lack of empathy, with procrastination or impulsivity, like poor judgment, decision making, and when they're having like a lack of forethought with things, they're really bad at time management, planning, long-term thinking. And if they have issues with inattention, then they have issues with their prefrontal cortex health, right? So that's just an example of one part of the brain. There's the parietal lobe, which that part of the brain is responsible for a good sense of direction. So all of us becoming more dependent on our GPSs, that part of the brain isn't getting exercised as much, and understanding like spatial recognition and like memory, like layout of a city in good directional sense. Anyway, so like it's the part of the brain that gets exercised when it gets to read maps.
Yeah.
Anyway, so like it also is responsible, the parietal lobe, for a sense of touch. So people that have issues with either hypersensitivity or not being able to register touch, it's in their parietal lobe. So being able to see objects in space well, like for instance, my husband, I call him Tetris brain. He knows how to pack the car really well. I suck at it.
Yeah.
And I'm also not good. Me and my mom are really bad. We get lost very easily. So I could do some things. There are things that can be done to exercise and improve health in different parts of your brain. So since I'm a Amen Clinic certified brain health coach, not only do I just do hypnotherapy with clients, but like I will give them handouts about their brain, especially when they have certain symptoms. I have assessments about their brain health and like treatment plans of like, hey, if you want to improve this area of your brain, these are some specific kinds of exercises you could do, or specific dietary changes, or kinds of alternative therapies or exercising and habits that like would balance that brain behavior.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fascinated. I mean, hopping off your question, why is it that there's a lack of advancement when it comes to the diagnosis of the brain? Is it just because we know so little about the brain and there's so much to investigate that it's almost overwhelming?
Well, we are finding more and more out, and it's still almost like the deep ocean.
Yeah.
We'll probably never reach the end of how amazing our brains are.
Right.
It's very cool. Like, for instance, just one little fact, we now know that we have more brain cells than there are stars in our Milky Way galaxy.
What?
And that is kind of like, did you ever see the movie Men in Black, where there's like
Yeah.
worlds within worlds within worlds?
Yep.
And our ability to even just spatial recognition, the kind of size scale that we're used to looking at with our human eyes, it's hard for us to comprehend that there's more brain cells in our brain than there are stars in our galaxy. It doesn't understand how it fits, right? But it's just because of our size scale, like if you ever saw the Marvel movie, The Ant-Man. Anyway, but like getting back to your question about like, why are we so ignorant about like how our brain works? Well, with modern technology, we're starting to be able to develop ways of studying the brain better. But also we have a mess with our healthcare system and what insurance will fund. So we're trying to be able to get insurance approval for people to be able to do scans of their brain, including like what the Amen Clinic specializes, a brain SPECT scan, which for instance, it's different than an MRI or a CAT scan, which those things really measure structural changes. It can see if there is like a tumor really well or something like that. If there's been like a dip in the brain, there's like a chunk of the brain that's been like literally divoted because of an injury or something. A SPECT scan lights up brain circulation activity, like which parts of the brain are being more active, and it takes these slices of almost like a heat map, and it can look like a rainbow. Like parts of the brain that are hyperactive look red, parts of the brain that are underactive look cool blue, and parts that are totally inactive look black. So they look like holes in this rainbow color map of the brain, and it will take slices of images of the brain from front to back, top to bottom, side to side, to see how blood flow, which parts of the brain are responding at concentration or rest, right? So most people don't even know about SPECT scans, that's available to like really understand how their brain is responding to stimulus.
You know, I mean, this might be a myth, actually. You know what? So you call me out here if I'm completely out of my depth. But as a kid, I always heard this rumor where it's like, it's like a joke that I hear, but it's like, apparently, is it true that we only use like a certain percentage of our brain? Like we don't use 100% of our brain. And the joke that like I always heard as a kid is like, oh, like we only use 10%. If we use like 100%, we could be like, we have telekinesis and we could become superheroes. I don't know if that's true, obviously, but like, is the 100% actually not true?
Well, the brain is doing something all the time. All parts of the brain might not be as active as other parts of the brain, or they might not be working together, syncing up as well, which I think is what people are talking about. Like, if the full brain capacity was being utilized, where they're all talking together and they're all working together 100% to its fullest availability. Like, did you see the movie Lucy with Scarlett Johansson?
I have, yes.
Yeah, right, where she becomes like Superwoman, but she's going to die because her brain has become so active.
Yep, I've seen, there's like a scene where she's like breaking out, yeah.
Right. So she develops like these X-Men superpowers, right?
Yep.
And we kind of do suspect that if all parts of the brain were functioning at its highest potential, that it would be like almost overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like maybe they're not all supposed to be revved up to 100%, all working
so
together.
So it's a blessing in disguise for everyone around us, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, unless we can figure out how to channel the superpowers that end up coming online.
Yep. No, because it's interesting, though, because we know so little about the brain, but then on the vice versa, because I feel like even if our brain's not 100%, I feel like there's so much to do with our brain that we don't do. And being in this self-improvement, I don't want to say industry, but the realm, you hear like, I'm surrounded by content that's constantly like, hey, if there's something wrong with you or you're doing something wrong, it's constantly like, this motivational advice will fix it. This part of your character will fix it. You never hear about how certain exercises genuinely that do with your psychology can help you. It's all to do with, like motivational advice that's very character instilled.
Oh, I hear what you're saying there. I think for like most of human history, people have been looking at it as like through a moralistic lens of character, like somebody doing things that are right or wrong or good or bad, fair or unfair, instead of a scientific view of understanding the organ and also cause and effect and without judgment, what's actually going on. So some clients, for instance, that I have seen suffer the most from feeling shame and like having the harshest like inner critic can be clients with ADD, ADHD, because especially like their teachers, their parents weren't educated about what is going on with their brain health that is causing these issues and what could we do to better serve these people to function better and have better brain health, instead of just saying, oh, you're being lazy, you're such a procrastinator, you're such, even for some people that are neurodivergent, like you worry too much. Instead of realizing why their brain is behaving that way and what could be done to increase their brain health and like literally improve their quality of life. So that's the kind of like education that I like to provide clients, but also do things with the hypnotherapy skills and stuff like that I offer, things to just try to make it even more automatically easier for people by helping to rewire their neural pathways or retrain their nervous system in the session as much as possible, but like give them as well that kind of brain health coaching of like, if you do these exercise daily for 2 weeks or 2 months, and if you change your diet like this, or you take these supplements, or if you adjust your medication like this, then you will notice dramatic improvement, not just a temporary relief because you followed some kind of brain hack from a podcast one day. You know what I mean? Like, there can be a holistic puzzle, to solve here.
I know you've mentioned the idea of brain plasticity, and I know that obviously with the brain, like I said it before, there's so much to investigate. How can we use first of all, is brain plasticity and neuroplasticity the same thing? Am I going around? Mm-hmm. How do we use neuroplasticity to our advantage?
One, I think the most common still like misunderstanding that I see, even though brain health or mental health is starting to be talked about more these days than probably ever before in human history, but still a lot of people think that their behaviors are a personal character flaw, as we said, or something to do with their personality, like their identity. So when people mistake their behaviors, their behavioral tendencies for who they are, is still a big problem that people have. And if they understood that neuroplasticity, your brain, literally, we now know, can actually produce, it's not just born with a certain amount of brain cells that die over time until we die. It can actually produce more brain cells and increase its health by us doing certain things. We can actually rewire the brain even with something that is like a really automatic, chronic, long-term habit that somebody feels like, oh my God, I just can't get myself to save my life to do that differently or something like that. And it's actually, we haven't found the right brain retraining or like the right improvement of things to improve your brain health to allow that change to happen. Your brain, again, might be prone to certain kinds of tendencies, even let's say with like our genetics. So back to the ADD, ADHD thing. People with ADHD usually have a gene that's called, I call it Dr. D2. And we could consider it like a Roomba that comes around. Give me a second here, I'll explain.
Yeah.
But like D2, DRD2 is this gene that is responsible. Let's think your brain has transmitters. It has these transporters and these receptors for dopamine. People with ADD and ADHD, or people that have been using so much screen time and haven't been eating a healthy diet and they haven't been moving their body or getting enough sleep, who are developing ADD symptoms, are starting to have an issue with their brain's baseline production of dopamine. And they're having issues with not enough transmitters, like almost like trucks in a loading dock to transport things. and they're not having enough receptors, right, of like being able to uptake the dopamine neurotransmitter. But specifically people with ADHD have this gene that the Dr. D2 gene, DRD2, that is like a little Roomba that sweeps up the dopamine before the receptor can take it in. So therefore they have issues with getting a sense of reward from things. So if you don't get a reward, it's hard to get motivated. If you're having issues with producing a driving chemical, dopamine, to even get you started and have a craving, like an urgency to do something, you can have issues with motivation and procrastination. And if you're not getting a hit of a benefit from having done something, like putting money in your savings account or completing your homework, why do it? So anyway, but we have now found that we can edit genes. We're figuring out how to edit genes, and we're figuring out...
Wait, what? You can edit genes?
CRISPR, if you've heard of that technology. Like, they've literally just discovered how to be able to stop the genome for Down syndrome. And some people are saying that's very controversial because we actually like people
that
that
right?
have Down.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, we're figuring out how to edit genes, but the body, we're learning that we can actually teach and train the brain how to turn off certain genes and turn them back on. So even sometimes through meditation and hypnosis. So like Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, if you watch this documentary called The Source on Apple TV.
I haven't, but I know Dr. Joe Dispenza, yeah.
But we're just learning all these different things about like epigenetics and how even people that were born with certain genes turned off, we can flip them back on to cause like more healing or better high functioning. So this is why, I mean, it's crazy. Like, we're on the precipice of really amazing, beautiful things.
Yeah.
So this is why when I say like people being able to recognize that their behavior is not them, and that neuroplasticity is the key and epigenetics is the key to learning how we can improve our health and improve our behavior.
Man, that's fascinating. I wonder, is it... Because you also see, I mean, I'd like to think I'm quite a self-aware person, Kristen. But in the sense that I say that, but I still get stuck in the same thought patterns, the same kind of mindsets. There's something past just awareness that I feel like... Because people typically say, the more aware you are... And don't get me wrong, I do think self-awareness is a beautiful thing to have. Sometimes very scary, overwhelming thing. But it's almost like there's something past just self-awareness that needs change to occur.
Yeah. So a lot of times people can self-awareness is good. It's a part of emotional intelligence skills. If somebody can't, for instance, trace like, oh, the reason why I'm doing this is because I get this feeling, and I can label this emotion with a name, and I can trace it to a met or an unmet need. So for instance, like, I might be overdoing it with video games or porn or I don't know, something because I'm feeling lonely because I'm not meeting my need for social connection, right? But like if people are just kind of walking through life blindlessly, not even realizing, why do I interrupt people when I'm talking? And it's because sometimes I'm either impatient, or it might be because I'm feeling defensive or triggered, like ashamed, and I'm actually trying to control the narrative. So self-awareness can be useful in that to a point, but sometimes people get too self-aware and analytical and judgmental, and they think that that will be the problem-solving solution to this thing. But the brain, the part of the brain that is having impulsive reactions, like literally causing a physiological response, a behavioral response, an emotion, a thought to come to mind, is not the same part of the brain that can observe what is happening.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I just lost my temper and called and it's not the same part of the brain that can judge the behavior as having value or being detrimental, good or bad. Yep. And have so much articulation and language. And those different parts of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, that can have empathy and problem solving and impulse control and articulation, grammar, is way different than, for instance, the amygdala, the limbic system that is on the lookout for threats and can read somebody's facial expression as a threat and start to try to interrupt the person to not say certain things to them, or they want to try. That part of the brain is going, oh my God, I'm afraid I'm going to die because you're showing signs of disapproval, like that you might start to become unpredictable, angry at me, like kill me. It's starting to sense judgment or anger or something like that, and it's trying to defend itself. And so, for instance, I train my clients all the time to be able to notice the difference between to be able to use their memory or their imagination and think, what is this look that happens on your mom or dad's face or your boss or your coworker's face or your husband's face or something like that, that starts to make you feel so sick with shame or fear or anger, like you feel that it's disrespectful. And I help play around with them to, so for instance, let me just give you an actual example so you can see what I mean. I had a lady that she had a very important work. She was supposed to teach and train other people in the company what to do. But she had this problem of selective mutism, meaning a lot of people are afraid of public speaking.
I'm pretty sure it's like the number one fear, yeah.
Yeah. It is. And she could not speak sometimes if she was given the podium, a microphone,
Yep.
like her body froze. She couldn't, verbal articulation went out the window. She used to have a mom that would scream and fly off the handle and punish her and her sister from when they were like little babies for making too much noise. And so we traced it down to where her body was starting this freeze response. When I asked her, when do you start to feel the fear come on? Is it like the day before when you see the activity on your calendar? Is it like when you're about to walk up to take the mic? Is it when you have the mic? And she said, it's when I see, specifically, it's the exact moment when I see everybody looking at me. It's the look on their faces. I said, what specifically about the look on their faces? People can have different looks on their faces. What is it? And then she realized, oh my God, it's like the position of their eyebrows. And she tracked, there was a certain kind of like eyebrow arch and narrowness and frown in the forehead that was triggering memories of how her mom looked when her mom was about to lose her mind and go rage. And so what we did is I had her specifically, this is called memory reconsolidation. This is the neural pathway rewiring. This is taking advantage of the neuroplasticity. So when somebody's having a post-traumatic stress response to a memory, their brain is treating that activated neural network that's getting stimulated, that's getting triggered, it's treating the memories that are coming online as if it's a real event that's really happening, and it's seeing it in first-person perspective, IMAX theater, virtual reality, with the emotion that got encoded with that memory. So if I were to ask you about something pretty boring, neutral, hunky-dory, like eating oatmeal 2 weeks ago for breakfast, you could describe it in detail, the whole event of eating your breakfast, without getting nauseous or feeling like you're going to pass out or something. But for somebody that felt really vulnerable, or there was pain and there was trauma, there was abuse, there was fear, the brain is recalling the body memory, it's recalling things that they heard, smell, saw in great vivid detail, whether they consciously realize it or not. It can be happening in less than a split second. So with her, I had her play a game with me, like she's looking at me, I have her pat her head, I have a rubber tummy, and I have her purposely tell me about a time when her mom raged and got abusive, but I asked her to think of her mom being a giant hot pink stuffed teddy bear and the eyebrows changing. Like sometimes they look like Betty Boop's eyebrows or Groucho Marx, or like a woman that has drawn on her eyebrows with an eyebrow pencil, like the McDonald's arches. Like if you change the memory and you remember it differently on purpose, then it can't be frozen with the original scary encoding. And so it's kind of like adding different ingredients into cake batter. If you hate the taste of vanilla, but we add in coffee or cherries or chocolate or something like that, you can never get the original taste of vanilla again. And that's what helps the brain realize that specific thing is not happening now with people's eyebrows being in similar positions. There has to be a few more things going on for me to feel like somebody is going to be violent, rather than just the position of their eyebrows. They could be concentrating, they could be trying to hear, they could be forgetting something, they could be having gas. We don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's part of the work
This is
that
so
I do in
fascinating.
causing an update. So
This is so fascinating. And you know what this is making me realize? I mean, maybe this is hypocritical from a guy who has a podcast, but it's making me realize how, by my language, crappy sometimes, like, generic advices from the self-improvement podcast, because what it makes me realize is everyone has a different story, a different, I would say, I don't know, neurological wiring in their brain. So all that advice that we normally hear that's like, well, if you got this issue, this motivational advice, if you're lazy, you need to fix it with this. But obviously, everyone's different. Everyone's got a different wiring. It's not going to work the same. And I'm fascinated because I remember I had a conversation with my friend, I think, a week ago, and we, for an hour, were just dissecting each other in the sense that like, how we work now, not because of our personalities, but because of our childhood, like how some of our tendencies now are just built through certain events in our childhood.
yeah.
And for me, that's so fascinating.
Yeah, and that's why it can be helpful, for people to realize, like, hey, when you're going to seek advice from somebody, how qualified, like what filter, what lens are they speaking through? Do they have a few different areas of knowledge to draw from?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just because of their own personal history and personal journey and personal story and what advice worked for them? Or do they understand some overall different things about brain health, hormone health, nutritional health and stuff like that are impacting people, as well as like developmental psychology? Like, for instance, if you've heard of people's relationship attachment styles, secure attachment, anxious disorganized attachment. And then there's, for instance, if you've ever heard of Gretchen Rubin's work, motivational tendencies, how people respond to extrinsic pressure and intrinsic pressure, like 4 different tendencies of how they respond to whether they're internally motivated, like it's something that they want to do, or it's something that somebody else asks them to do or wants them to do. And there's 4 different combinations on how people respond to that pressure. So knowing all these different kinds of things helps you be able to take what has value from somebody's advice or use the right advice for you
To frame it in the right way.
without feeling like a failure.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. The reason I brought that up is because when we hear this generic advice, we tend to just stick to that. Like, we instantly draw to that advice, and then maybe that papers over the cracks of where we truly need to be introspective. Have you ever heard of, I want to say the name right, Eileen Gu, the Chinese free skier?
No, I don't think I have.
So she's currently, I'm pretty sure she's the most decorated free skier in history. And recently, I think in the last year, I have the video saved on my camera roll. It's one of the most outstanding responses to a question I've ever seen. I think she was doing PR, and I've got to hear the interview asked very politely, goes, not to be rude, but do you think before you speak? Because you speak so well, you think so well, and do you mind taking us into your brain? And she delivers one of the best responses I've ever heard, and I'd love to read it for you because I think it's so interesting. Yeah,
please.
She goes, overall, I'm just a pensive person, very introspective. I journal and break down my thought processes and apply a very analytical and scientific lens. I modify it because you can control what you think, and thus control who you are. With neuroplasticity on my side, I can literally become who I want to be.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And that's
I love
beautiful
it.
Because for me, it's like I've never thought about actually breaking down my thought processes finally to, like, in a way that's, I'm unique with my own thought processes, very different to every single other person. It's because you typically hear, like, online or when people give advice, like, it's worked for me, so it's going to work for you. And that's what gets generated around. But it's so fascinating to see this elite skier or this person with an elite achievement, elite mindset going, I break down my own thought process with a very scientific lens.
Yeah, I love that. That's very helpful. I I think that it's useful for people to know that their thoughts are getting generated at an unconscious level.
Yep.
And yet they can influence more and more over time how they respond to those thoughts, which then in turn cause a different kind of thought to be generated. So you can't prevent thoughts that occur.
Yeah.
Like you can't go back in time and, oh my God, I should have been able to not think that. That's not. You always, though, once you become aware of a thought, that awareness is a sign that you now have the ability to start to think on purpose and guide and direct. Almost like asking a child, hey, sweetie, instead of just repeating this, word,
Yeah.
how about we go ahead and sing a new tune? Will you sing it with me?
It's a new. What is it? It's not stimulus. It's a new. What's the word? The scientific word for it? Like response.
Conditioned response.
Conditioned response. Yeah.
To a stimulus. So, for instance, in the Buddhism philosophy view, it's called, like, for instance, ending the second dart of suffering. You can't prevent the first dart, your initial automatic reaction to things. It's just how you react. But you can train yourself how to respond differently to your thoughts and your sensations, your emotions, your feelings. This is why we practice non-judgmental awareness and compassion and empathy. Because then you start to change your internal dialogue over time, or from doing things like memory reconsolidation work, like healing trauma and just giving your body better chemicals through a nutritious diet, adequate sleep, exercise. When you expand and contract your muscles, you release antidepressants in your body, all kinds of things. The combination of all of that is what gives you like a healthier, just mental space to be working with.
Yeah,
Right?
I know earlier you said that, like, we use a certain part of our brain to be introspective, but there's so many other brain functions that are going around there.
Yeah.
How do we then be introspective? Because I know, for example, I brought up this athlete who, she says she journals down every thought process. It's like, how do we, if there's so much going on in our brain and we want to be as introspective as possible, and it's the way I'm imagining it is the way you said it, is like there's one part of our brain that allows us to see into our brain with this almost narrow tunnel, and whatever comes in front of it we can analyze. But how do we broaden that scope, or almost be more accurate with our introspection?
Okay. So one thing is that I would think can be useful to point out. Again, introspection can have some value. Like people, for instance, one thing that's useful to get about like healthy introspection, because I would say there can become unhealthy, obsessive introspection.
Yeah.
That becomes a little too judgmental, hypervigilant, analytical, and it can create almost like OCD-ish loops in the brain. But first of all, healthy introspection, people definitely need to remember the quality of the questions that they're asking, or the quality of the lens that they are interpreting what's going on. So here's what I mean by that. First off, if you ask solution-oriented questions, that's better than asking judgmental questions. Why am I so lazy is not a useful question.
Yeah, that's just
Going, what can I do to improve my prefrontal cortex health or my ability to produce dopamine is a useful question.
And does that lead
what can
to
I
research?
do? It can. Yeah, so for instance, you can look online and find out how do you naturally boost your ability to produce your own dopamine by the food that you eat, by your activities. So maybe, for instance, we understand how to help now break phone addiction. Our phones have now people have spent billions of dollars to try to figure out how to addict us to their apps. And there's a few simple habits that will help with that. One is, do not be near your phone for the first hour when you wake up.
Oh my God, that's what I was just about to say. Yeah.
An hour before you go to bed, not when you eat meals, and also have at least like a day or a few hours of fasting, like a fast day from your phone. That can help break the addiction. That's like 3 things. Simple, but anyways, like, so how do I help produce my own dopamine? by either taking more medication or through like an hour of movement a day.
Yep.
Through making sure you get at least 6 hours of rest. So for instance, meaning if I focus on why am I lazy is not as good of a question as how can I gain more energy? How can I cause myself to be more motivated?
It almost just sounds almost more biological and scientific.
Right. So one can be, again, like just about pointing us to keep judging the problem or just keep going into the loop of the problem rather than looking into the solution. But anyways, again, looking at it with moralistic language as a character flaw is not useful. So for instance, if anybody were to type in, like Google ANT therapy, automatic negative thought therapy, like Dr. Daniel Amen of the Amen Clinics talks about our negative thoughts like ants and labeling them like different kinds of ants, like a red ant, a sugar ant or something like that, but basically we know in therapy that the kinds of thoughts that usually cause behavioral problems for people are a couple of things. All or nothing thinking, total black and white thinking. It was right or it was wrong, I was good or I was bad, I was a perfectionist or I'm a failure. I got it. Anyway, stuff like that. I can never be happy, I'm always a slob. That doesn't help anybody to think without nuance. It doesn't help anybody to be hearing things talked about in that moralistic language. There's thoughts that we have that are, we could almost think of them that they're trying to be like psychics, like trying to predict the future, the worrywart part of us. And it's like, do you know the future? So anyway, there's ways that you could respond and challenge your thoughts. That's what happens in cognitive behavioral therapy, but even just keeping an automatic negative thought, labeling them and challenging them with ANT therapy for 2 weeks can dramatically change the loops that people have going on, like the way that they can train themselves to think in a different way and train themselves to not see a thought as real or have any value or take it seriously or be worried about it at all. Like to even see it as a problem. It's just like, oh, that's coming from an outdated program. I can update the program by retraining my brain.
So here's where it gets interesting. Once you're introspective and we want to, like you said, rewire and find a new conditioned response to a stimulus, a secondary one.
Yeah.
What does that look like? What does that process of rewiring look like? This is where we get into it.
Really good question, right? This is fun. There's a couple, there's probably, a lot of techniques, but two that I could talk about that are fun, I think. Like, one I think is fun because of how simple it is, even though a lot of people, they might not find it attractive because they might think of it as boring. But when you really appreciate the simplicity of it, you can marvel at it and be really excited, like, holy crap, I can do this for free. So for instance, it involves the mindfulness, non-judgmental awareness, but specifically doing a couple of things to help update the part of your brain that is known as the default mode network, the house of habit. It's what's firing off post-traumatic stress responses, like long-term habits. So habitual language patterns, habitual like narrative stories, the worldview, the filter you have of processing something. There's a couple of biological hacks to updating your default mode network to really quickly, easily retrain it to get it to do something different for you. So for instance, if right now, Rishi, there was something that you wanted to purposely cause an activation around, like so that I could even take you through a very simple little exercise. Because I was going to say there's this one about mindfulness with the default mode network, and then there's something called pattern interrupting, and I can show you them.
Yep.
But so we can see how quickly it works in real time. If you want, we can work with the activation about like, oh my gosh, do I have permission to just rest or play or do something for the fun of it without like having an interim life goal, like I had to have become an author of a book or I had to have
that's a big
whatever
thing I struggle
it is.
with. Yep. That's a big thing.
a lot of people are in this modern day go capitalistic society. I admire. As much as anybody. The reason why we're here and we came together today.
It's a very American thing, by the way. In Europe, we take it a lot easier, actually. I don't know if you know, but the stores in Europe close around 6 p.m. Everyone's out on the pubs. It's a very American thing that I've gotten used to.
I've been to 11 different countries.
Yeah.
I remember when I went to Paris when I was 17 years old, and the whole country shut down on Sunday.
It shuts down, yeah. People,
and I was like,
I don't feel that guilty about going to the pub with my friends in London, but when I'm here, I am a wreck.
Yeah,
I am a wreck.
I hear you, and that is, keeping up with the culture. We have a brain that can trigger our amygdala, our limbic system, when it seems like our behavior is a mismatch with our tribe, our community.
Yeah.
And it's trying to fit in, and it sees if I don't do it correctly as a life or death threat. This is coming from caveman times. But right now, the part of your brain that has developed almost like as an anxiety response to the thought of taking the day off, resting or something like that, if you were to bring up an activation in your body and actually get the feeling to come online, the sensation of discomfort with giving yourself permission to play or just do something creative without having an end goal in mind, can you bring that up for a second?
In the sense, like, what's an action I take which really, like, gives me a feeling of discomfort?
Yeah, basically, if anything right now that you're willing to cause what we would call a dorsal vagal nerve response, which is a feeling of like fight, flight, freeze, meaning discomfort in your body, a sense of anxiety basically about something.
So I don't know if this is exactly what you're looking for, but I'll give you the situation that really causes me to feel this way, which is, it's interesting. So this semester, I came back from Australia studying last semester. So this semester was my first semester back in New York. And I realized in February, especially when, or no, March, I'd say, when the winter started to go away, where you can definitely spend some time outside. If I was in my house or my apartment, especially my room, like this space, between the times of, let's say, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. when the sun was up, I would get severe, like, very critical, harsh, I don't know if the word anxiety is the word, but like if I'd walk into this room and I even lie down for a second, I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? This is horrible because the sun is out, people are outside. I feel like an absolute bum in that way.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Right now, as you're telling me about it, do you actually feel some activation in your body?
I do.
On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put it?
Right now, honestly, I don't know if it's high, but maybe a 5.
Good job. Thank you. That's helpful. So, name 2 qualities of the physical experience. So, for instance, it's located in my chest. It's tight. It feels like pressure. It feels like heat.
My heart is like racing up a bit.
Right? Okay, so that's 1.
Yeah.
And then what's another quality?
You're talking about right now or generally when that situation happens?
Right now.
Right now, so my heart racing a bit, and I also feel very, like, actually, I'm noticing it now, my toes are tensing up.
Good job, thank you. So muscle tension and an increased heart rate are usually pretty in common with any kind of dorsal activation, any kind of anxiety response, right? Anyway, so right now, do me a favor and imitate me.
Go on.
In a second, you are going to look up and you're going to have your eyes be wide as if you're surprised, shocked. Like, oh my gosh, I've never seen a ceiling before.
Okay.
And you're going to breathe slowly we're just going to do it for like 20 seconds or so. So look up and pay attention in the upward space. And please do make sure that your eyebrows are really wide, your eyebrows are raised. And I'm going to explain to you while you're doing this, why you're doing this.
Do I go for it?
Yep.
Okay.
So when you look up, your limbic system and your amygdala assume that the longer you look up and you don't die, the safer you are, because it knows that a life and death threat for humans has usually come on the ground at eye level. Okay, so threats for humans aren't usually coming from the sky. When your eyebrows are raised, when your eyes are wide, it puts your default mode network into update mode. It causes it to get curious and pay attention to the present moment and stop a post-traumatic stress response. a loop of just some automatic unconscious firing, and it starts to get like, pay attention, do something new and different, look for new and different information. It gets communicating it's okay to do things new and differently. So breathe slowly, like do a few yawns or sighs. Good job. So the more you relax your tongue, the more you relax your jaw, the more you breathe slow and deep into your diaphragm, the more you start to cause a ventral vagal nerve response, parasympathetic, rest, digest, heal, chill out. And you're retraining the default mode network that with whatever the memory, the stimulus, the imagination, the event, it would be okay to not treat it like danger. It would be okay to be relaxed. It would be okay to be calm. That's what you're retraining your brain to do. And so you can stop looking up. You can stop doing that. And I want you to check in and do a body scan and notice if the sensations that were at around a 5, maybe 30 seconds ago, notice if they're new and different in any way, if your body is feeling differently.
I do. Weirdly, I do.
Yeah.
The biggest thing was, I don't know if you actually noticed, I'm speaking slower, which is interesting.
Right, yes. You're actually look like you're breathing slower. You're looking more calm and relaxed, but how's your chest, your heart?
It's my feet are like planted. It's weird because I don't even know if you noticed, but I was thinking about this while I was answering when I was saying my toes are clenching up. One thing I do when I get really anxious is I speak really quickly because I want to just get it out. That's something I do, and my friends notice as well. But while I was looking up, the eyebrow thing is interesting because I was literally looking for details in my room I've never seen before.
Good, perfect.
Yeah.
So that experience of being present and outwardly focused with just curious, non-judgmental awareness, what we call mindfulness, that's the benefit of the mindfulness. It's interrupting worry, negativity, judgment, basically anxious ways of thinking or critical ways of thinking. When you're outwardly focused, it causes your default mode network to get more calm and quiet. Like stopping the negative internal chatter when you're paying attention outwardly. But when you enhance that experience of with having your eyebrows be wide, like all the kids when they entered the chocolate room where there was the river of chocolate, like pure imagination, and there was the Candyland room, and it's like, oh my God, I've never seen something so cool and interesting and beautiful. That literally is causing a subconscious memory reconsolidation updating process. Like, so instead of me, what I was telling you about with that woman who was very sensitive to the position of people's eyebrows, and a part of her brain was registering that as I could die. If I say or do the wrong thing right now, if I get too loud, I could die. So, and if I had, I could have just told her 8 times, remember what it's like to when your mom yelled at you, or think about what it's like to have people looking at you when you're about to speak. Feel the activation in your body. And for 30 seconds at a time, do your eyebrows wide, look up, relax your jaw, soften your tongue, yawn or sigh. Or you can even hum. That causes a ventral vagal nerve activation as well. So if you're looking up and you're paying attention to and you set a 30-second timer, and you go back and you cause the activation again, remember the trauma, remember, like, imagine something that would cause you to worry or something that would cause the activation in your body. Each time in neuroscience, when you have around, on average for the average person, 8 prediction errors happen, where the brain goes, oh my God, this is not what I thought it was going to be. I didn't die. And also I learned that it was okay to be calm. Once this neural network came online, that was you just retraining you just caused a new automatic conditioned response. So whatever anybody is afraid of, if they're afraid of, for instance, like sharing their prices during a sales call, like, oh my God, I'm going to tell somebody that it costs $2,000 to work with me, and they get nervous during that moment, I might have them do that sensory transformation mindfulness process that I just had you do, and we do it a few times, like 8 times or so. But anyway, another quick way to do it that's actually really, really fun, Rishi.
Go on, because that was fun as well. So
yeah, right. Well, it's very simple. But this one is really fun. There's a way to do it on your own. There's a way to do it with another person, like playing a game. But basically, it's just, again, causing a prediction error for your default mode network where you have the activation going, like get whatever, the frustration, the shame, the embarrassment, the anxiety, whatever it is, even sadness, grief, any uncomfortable response in your body. Think whatever you have to think. The key to this, dear, to do this really well, is to track at least 2 qualities of the physical sensation when it comes online. That's lighting up the sensory cortex part of your brain, which is helping with the default mode network update process. So you track, like, is also known in therapy as the SUD scale. But on a scale of 1 to 10, how intense is it right now? This is my baseline. Okay, I'm starting off when I'm doing this reconditioning process, retraining process. I'm aware of almost like the fingerprint, how this lives in my body right now. It's showing up in my gut or my chest. And on a scale of 1 to 10, there's like heat or tightness out of 6 or something like that, right? And then, so actually, would you mind doing it again so I can show you this technique?
Let's do it.
So go ahead and cause an activation of some kind. Meaning go ahead and get anxious or whatever it is, like feel like a bum.
No, that I can do very easily, Kristen. Don't worry about it.
You're good at that?
I'm good at feeling like a bum, yeah.
Wait, is it okay if we make it harder for you
Go on.
so that you are able to rest more guilt-free and that therefore your mood and your energy and your dopamine balances out so that you are free to be creative and productive but in balance?
Sure.
Is it okay?
So do I think of a more extreme situation? Is that where we're...
You can.
Okay.
Okay. Like you can cause a greater response in your body if you're up for it.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm okay.
You got it?
I think I got it. Yeah.
So right now, again, on a scale of 1 to 10, how intense?
Probably around the 5. Like.
Good job.
Yeah.
It's okay. Again, pay attention to the physical qualities in your body. Mm-hmm. Where do you feel it? Is it in your stomach or in your throat or in your chest?
It's my feet. It's like in my chest. And
it's
my
your feet.
Yeah.
Okay, dear. So now close your eyes. Okay, hold on 1 second. Just keep them closed.
All right.
Okay, open your eyes.
Oh my God, Kristen, what am I looking at? Kristen, what's going on here?
You might have to explain to people what happened if they aren't watching this.
I know. I mean, for all the... Oh my God. I mean, I want to explain it, but I feel like it'll ruin what just happened.
Yeah, right?
It's indescribable what just happened. So please, if you're listening on audio, just go over to the YouTube video right now, because I don't even want to describe it.
No, we should. I actually think that that's a wise choice. Do not describe what happened to the people on audio. So... basically, I gave you a prediction error where you did not... There was no way that you were going to be able to predict what you were going to see when your eyes opened.
Right.
So, it caused a giant mismatch.
No, you're right. I no longer feel like a bum. Because
So it caused a giant mismatch of emotion and it caused distraction. And it caused a giant more leveling up of a memory reconsolidation or re-imprinting in that neural network. I just way more dramatically, easily rewired your neural pathways and retrained your nervous system. Okay?
Right.
So it gets harder if you do something that's very surprising or silly or confusing. So for instance, notice what happens, Rishi. If we just did that one time, go ahead and try to get disturbed by whatever you had thought about to get it at a 5 before. Go ahead and remember or imagine, think the thought, and notice what happens now in your body. Notice what's new and different. How is it new and different as you try to get it to be how it was before? I
don't know if this is exactly what we're looking for, but it's almost, I'm struggling to get the exact same feeling. I don't know.
Exactly.
Okay, well, yeah.
So meaning, and a part... I'm not just trying to do this for my ego. When I ask you to pay attention to what's new and different, that's causing the default mode network to update better.
You know what's interesting? In these 2 ways, obviously, you know, I don't want to say what happened just because, but I'm gonna like give a little teaser to the people listening on audio. But in both these ways, from what I've realized is, I don't know if this is exactly what you were hoping for.
Yeah.
But the way I'm actually looking at it is, like, for example, when I had my eyebrows raised,
Yes.
and I was noticing every detail, it was almost like for example, when I'm stuck on an issue and I'm so anxious about it, all I can see is that issue. But when I am noticing more, it's almost like the simple sentence comes to me. It's just like, there's more to life than this. It's not that deep.
Exactly.
And then the second thing, I'm not gonna like, when I saw what I saw, it was almost like there's more to life than this issue. It's like you're unlocking, for example, I have these pictures on my wall, and then when I was with my eyebrows raised, I'm like, I never noticed that person that's actually just in the background of this picture. And just simply being like, there's actually maybe more to life than just like me thinking about this issue that's not that deep.
Good job. So here's what just happened. Your brain was engaging the limbic system, the amygdala, which causes narrowing of awareness and attention, and it causes the whatever kind of habit, which is if it's a certain kind of auditory dialogue, a certain kind of story, a certain kind of judgmental, a certain kind of like, oh, this is very familiar thinking. Like I've learned since childhood to feel down on myself because my parents or my teachers or my classmates or my siblings said I was being lazy and said I was being a bum if I didn't get up sooner on a Sunday or something like that. And so that habitual kind of thought loop, when we are in an amygdala, a limbic system, like a dorsal, ventral, basically a threat response, interpreting what's going on as a problem, a threat. Think the bunny has to be paying attention to what the wolf is doing when the wolf is around. It's not supposed to be lollygagging, just thinking about watching a butterfly. It's pay attention to the wolf.
Yeah, the biological feeling is still important. Yep.
Well, the reason why it's narrowing attention and causing a hyper attention to the threat, paying attention to what it's thinking of as a threat, the problem, was because it could track the predator and what it's doing. When you get it out of the dorsal, ventral, the limbic, amygdala firing loop response in the body, you bring the prefrontal cortex online, which has wider perspective, and it can problem solve or it can see a solution, it can have empathy and grace and compassion or creativity, and it can have ease and calm and peace, and it can do what just happened for you, which was being able to have a thought that was useful, that was kind of like, oh my God, this isn't an actual threat.
Yeah.
It literally was able to get that aha moment.
Yeah.
And register that by us just causing your prefrontal cortex to come back online very quickly, very easily.
This is interesting. Yeah. So you know how earlier you were like, instead of asking questions of how do I be less lazy?
Yeah.
And then change that to activate more dopamine or create more dopamine?
Or energy or motivation.
Is this the same thing where it's like, instead of saying like, how do I become less anxious, it's like, how do I activate my prefrontal cortex more?
Yes, exactly. There's so many different ways.
Yep.
So mindfulness, paying attention to what's new and different, observing. Every guru will tell you, that like for ancient wisdom,
yep,
that like hanging out in nature for 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day and just paying attention. What are the birds and the ants and the beetles and the butterflies doing is literally so healthy for your brain. And spontaneously, what people will have when they walk or they meditate, they mindfully observe nature, they will have moments where they realize, oh my God, like they automatically heal trauma. Like they realize that they have more grace and empathy for their parents or the bully in the third grade, or they have their brain just problem solved and they go, oh my God, I know how to solve that problem now. I know what to do for that paper. They get an inspired idea because they literally were causing bilateral stimulation when they were walking, which happens with EMDR, right, left brain when you're walking in nature. And it was causing more prefrontal cortex activity with the mindfulness and it caused more creativity, inspired thinking, ahas, wisdom to come online.
This is so interesting. I literally had a conversation last night where so one of my roommates the other day asked me like, oh, how often are you in the gym? And I said, I'm usually there 6 days out of 7. He's like, wow, 6 days out of 7, that's like sounds quite excessive. And I'm like, it does, in the point where it's like, yes, if you're pushing yourself to the maximum weightlifting, it does. But a lot of those days when I'm going to the gym, I'm actually just going to the gym to be in the gym. Just because I've noticed nowadays where it's like the weeks where I have the most amount of anxiety is also correlated to the weeks where I haven't been in the gym that much. And it's not because I'm like, it's just to do with the activity part of it. Like, I just want to be out there. And for me, like, a gym is a huge thing, but it's also a huge thing because I do it first thing in the morning. And when I have that activity in the first thing in the morning, I've noticed that, like the same exercise we just did, a lot of the time when I'm in the gym, I'm like, I'll come out and be like, dude, life's not that deep. Like, you start thinking about other stuff. And, like, when you're in an exercise where, I hear fighters say this all the time, actually. And fighters go, when I'm in the ring with someone, like, because you are literally only thinking about this one person in the way, these other obstacles that consume you, these other mental obstacles that consume you, you kind of have to let them go in a kind of way. And I love creating that sensation for me where it's like, when I'm in the gym, it's like, because then your main mental obstacle gets moved to the like the side, and your brain foreground, and your brain realizes that there's more to life than just this mental obstacle. It's almost easier to process.
For sure. Well, one, you're producing really healthy chemicals in your brain that are causing you to both be calm and excited, like endorphins and stuff like that. You're causing like ATP energy, which is, anyway, like really good at healthy for your brain. It feels really good, right? But like all of those things are helping you to be able to see life in a more balanced perspective and to not be treating things that aren't life or death immediate danger as such, to be able to see things more accurately for what they are, with more calmness, with more clarity. And so this is why, back to when we were saying what's a more useful question than how can I not be so lazy? How can I make this activity be more appealing to me? Like doing my laundry is a better useful question. When you think, how could I jumpstart this activity? Most of us were taught to save our treat, our reward, until after the activity. Like, you don't get to rest until you've been a good boy and you got all your homework done and you got all your chores done. But actually, when we're having an issue with getting started doing something, it would be more useful to start having the treat at the beginning. Like, I get to play awesome music and have a dance party. I get to be able to have my strawberry lavender matcha latte while I do my laundry. And you start it at the beginning. That's how I make the activity more appealing. That's what allowed me to have the energy to get started and get the dopamine going, because dopamine isn't, again, just the reward chemical. It's the driver, craving, jumpstart the engine chemical. So you need both. And again, unless somebody knows that, they'll just continue seeing as like they have some personal failure. So anyway, like when I'm convincing people to stop doing something that is not in their long-term best interests, and getting people like me as a hypnotist convincing somebody to stop an addiction to donuts or cigarettes or video games and like get addicted to, in a healthy way, being active, getting outdoors, things like that. I might say there are some people, they get really, really attached to the thing that's been really routine and where they've been getting their dopamine hits from, their nicotine, their video games, their donuts, their sugar, right? And I might just tell them, because I understand how the brain is working and seeing things, that we have this conscious mind, but then we have this unconscious mind. The prefrontal cortex, it responds really well with facts and statistics and data, credible, like, oh, this study. The unconscious mind, that doesn't mean jack all to it. It responds really well to parables and visuals and sensory evoking things and storytelling, things that cause a visceral, emotional, physiological response. So if I was dealing with somebody that even if I gave them the tip one way that you could actually get your laundry and your homework done more easily during the week is if you actually did this. That still might not get it done for them and cause the habit. But if I actually told them something like this, and I say, somebody who is eating junk food and they're like saying that it's the only time in their day where they feel happy. And I'm like, well, let's take a look. Sometimes it's easier to see and have an aha moment when we don't think about it for ourselves, but when we look at what's going on with other people's behavior. And I might say something like, let's imagine for a moment 2 different people. We have this woman in her 30s who's a physical trainer, dietitian, nutritionist, health and wellness coach, fitness coach, right? And she loves eating her Mediterranean plant-based diet. She loves running with her dog on the beach, playing volleyball and frisbee. She loves teaching children and middle school how to eat healthy and exercise and stuff like that. It's very rewarding to her. She's feeling sexy and confident, and she has energy throughout the day. She sleeps well. She has a wonderful libido and all kinds of stuff, right? And then we have this guy who absolutely loves Krispy Kreme donuts.
Okay.
And they're his favorite thing in the world. He hates his job.
Yep.
He's morbidly obese. His doctor says he's about to get type 2 diabetes.
This guy's living it up, yeah.
Right? And he's balding, and he's alone, and he's addicted to porn and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the doctor says, dude, if you don't stop smoking cigarettes, if you don't stop eating donuts, you're going to die before you turn 40.
Yep.
And he goes, but it's the only time of the day that I feel happy. And we look at this guy, and we look at this gal, and I would say, who's happier?
Well, the girl.
The guy, right, obviously.
Yeah.
The guy, he's huffing and puffing. He can barely get up a flight of stairs. He feels like a loser.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's me convincing more of somebody's subconscious mind the point of long-term benefits. Don't just live for immediate self-gratification, but because their brain has an issue with being able to assign dopamine and reward to long-term, like, why would I try to lose weight for my future self or save up retirement for my future self? But when I tell you a story, and when I tell you a parable that starts to evoke the emotion, I'm literally breaking the dopamine chain with donuts, and somebody's starting to have an aversion response and get disgusted about it. And when I start to talk about the healthy eating and the healthy activity, I'm building the dopamine chain in somebody's brain automatically through just storytelling.
Yeah, a lot of this is, I worked with one of my good buddies, and he is a big visualization guy. And it's almost, you're almost doing that in the sense that when you're manifesting or visualizing the person you want to become, you're more focused on that rather than the difficult steps that require less dopamine to get there.
Well, you're causing that conditioned response.
Yep.
Like if we've heard of the Ivan Pavlov, the
ringing
of the bell, the salivating.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. So when we, with hypnotherapy, guided meditation, hypnosis, or something like that, get somebody to actually have the reality that they're already feeling good from doing these habits, these healthier habits, and they're living in that reality, we're actually building the dopamine links in their brain.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Right?
It's interesting. I don't mean to bring up the gym again, but the reason I bring up the gym is like it's so interesting. The gym is a place where I heard someone say this, and it's very cool and interesting thought. It's like the gym is one of those places where you can actually see, you have a glimpse of your future self or the person you want to become at the end of your session because your muscles are activated, you look bigger, and it's quite motivating when you first enter the gym because you get this new pump and you're like, wow, this is like who I want to be. And also, I'll be honest, it becomes unhealthy over some time because like you're constantly just chasing this pump for an hour and it, like this feeling and this person that you want to be and you're no longer getting it. That's when body dysmorphia kicks in. But in other facets of life, that motivation for me, or a lot of people that when they first go to the gym and they see the person that they are at the end of the session when all their muscles activated, if you're able to almost do that in a positive light with a lot of other facets, you become extremely motivated. Like dopamine is stored within the person you want to become, not in the steps that are causing you to divert away from it.
Well, this is I was a fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger, if you know who that is, the Terminator, right? So when I was in elementary school, there was an activity, jump rope for the heart. And Arnold Schwarzenegger, who had heart issues, was like trying to increase awareness about heart health and like exercise for kids and stuff like that. And so my dad had been a bodybuilder in college and had Arnold Schwarzenegger magazines. Anyways, I've recently read one of his books. I think it's called like The 7 Rules for Success or something like that. Anyway, he talked about this becoming addicted, like 5 hours in the day for the gym, trying to chase the pump.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
But he also talked about how easy it was when you're getting that high from, like, it's his profession. He gets paid. He has tax write-offs to sculpt his body and make it a living work of art, right? But it became so much easier because that was the career he chose to tackle any other hard thing, like becoming a famous movie actor, a leading man in Hollywood, not just in action movies, but in comedies or other things. And also, for instance, becoming the governor of California, because he had so much, he was so used to visualizing how he wanted his body to be and doing that while he was pumping iron in the gym, that he learned that habit to apply a visualization of the future, like imagining becoming the governor of California, imagine getting the role. And he knew how to create dopamine chains in his brain very easily while he was working out.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that's exactly what Eileen was saying in the beginning that I brought up, where it's like you can become who you want to be by just asking the questions that you brought up, which is using your brain in the way like, okay, how do I activate my prefrontal cortex in these steps? How do I activate dopamine or assign dopamine to this person I want to become? That's the steps it takes to become the person you want to be.
Exactly.
That's fascinating. So interesting.
Rather than just looking at why am I doing it wrongly.
Yeah.
Is it the solution-oriented thinking can be useful. So anyway, I feel like there was something else I was going to say, but I've lost.
Maybe I need to put on the to bring it back.
I recommend having a few of those things
just having
around,
right? Yeah, why not?
Just your friend's really upset,
and I'll be like, no, guys. Like the reason I have it in my room is because I had this like really good podcast episode with Kristen. There's a reason.
What the hell is in your room, Rishi?
I'm like, no, it was because of a really good podcast episode.
The people that are listening to this are going to be so curious.
Yeah, I know, and this is good for me actually. I get good, good transitions now as well. Multiple viewings. Yeah. But Kristen, the time flies. We're having fun. I can't believe it's already been an hour and a bit. But I always ask my guests this, and you've lived a fascinating life. A lot of events in your life that have shaped the person you become. So this is actually going to be very interesting for me to hear. And I always ask my guests, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received? And I'd love to know yours.
Thank you. What comes to my mind when I hear you say that is actually not the best piece of advice per se, but the best idea I've ever been given.
Go on.
Okay. To me, from 16 years of doing hypnotherapy and working with almost 5,000 clients, to be somebody that, for right now, I suffered from functional neurological disorder, meaning that I had non-epileptic seizures up to 9 times a day. I was in a wheelchair wearing a helmet for 2 years, and then through one session of hypnotherapy, my post-traumatic stress, my functional neurological disorder disappeared. And the biggest aha moment, there was an idea presented to me in that session that took into my brain. And I realize now through all these sessions that I've had with people that this is like at the horcrux of either whether their life goes, if we're talking almost like a fork in the road, pain and suffering, or peace and happiness and joy and vitality and creativity, accomplishment. The one idea, how you think of yourself is literally responsible for how your way of being, how you treat yourself, the decisions you make, your worldview about yourself, your identity. The highest quality perspective I could give somebody about who they are, first, before I present it, it would be useful to take a look and see what's the most common ways. If I ask you, Rishi, or most people, who are you? And I see what knee-jerk automatic reaction comes out about your identity. I'm going to tell you right now, most people give me an answer about their identity that is in one of these 4 categories. It has to do with their body. Like, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm this age, I'm brunette, I'm this, I'm that, the body. Or it has to do with their relationships, who they are in relation to other people. I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a teacher. Their relationships or career. So then third, their behaviors. I'm a perfectionist, I'm a procrastinator, I'm a smoker, I'm a non-smoker, I'm a blah, blah, blah.
Of course.
Behaviors of mind and body. I'm depressed, I am whatever. And last but not least, most common answer related to identity has to do with opinions, beliefs. I am an atheist, I'm a Democrat.
Interesting.
I am a Christian, I am a Buddhist, whatever. Yeah. So opinions and beliefs. Now I'll ask you, Rishi, out of these 4 things, what would you say is the one thing they all have in common?
Oof.
I didn't get it when I was asked this question. Most people do not get it.
I mean, I was going to say, is it something that's not in your control, but it is. Some of them are in your control?
Some of them, yeah. So what I would say is that they are all things that can change. Okay?
But what about, like, I'm a son or, like, a sister or a brother?
My sister died when I was 19.
True, actually.
Right?
Yeah.
My relationship status can change. I can be married one day, not the next. So the one
That's
thing...
That's interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. All of them can change. Yep.
Career, belief, by some miracle, people's political party. But anyway, so even let's say the body, most people would bet the body. Like if I said, for instance, if I gave you a room full of college students and I give them a riddle and I say, there's a 5'6" Chinese man that comes into a room and he's angry and he's snapping his fingers. An hour later, he walks out of the room. Who here wants to bet their whole life savings, all the money they could ever earn in their lifetime, whether he'll still be a man an hour later? Who here wants to bet whether he'll still be Chinese? Who here wants to bet whether he'll be angry? Who here wants to bet whether he'll be snapping his fingers? Most people know that behaviors are the easiest things to change. Oh, the guy's probably not snapping his fingers. He's probably not angry, but he's probably still a man.
Chinese 5'6" man, yeah.
Right. Well, what if he changed his citizenship? What if he changed? I know that can't change your original ethnicity, but people are changing their biological sex these days. But anyway, the rabbit hole. But let me put it to you this way: the most people will hinge their identity if they had to pick between these 4 things on the body.
Yeah.
They would say, "I think I'm my body," but even that gets really complicated if we take a look. And I'm doing this so I can set up my answer, the alternative idea about your identity effectively, really well. Yeah. So for you, if we define you based on your body, where does that end or begin? For instance, if we shake hands and you were an unhygienic person and you didn't wash your hands, my skin cells would live on you for like 5 days. Where do I end or begin if I eat, and let's say I eat food from my backyard and there's microbes and they become a part of my microbiome.
Yep.
When people do organ transplants, they get memories and tendencies and behavioral impulses from the organ donor. Yeah. So when I eat and bleed, when I breathe, where I end or begin, if it's based on the body, the fact that your cells die and regenerate your whole body every 7 years. There isn't one place on your body here today that was there when you were newborn.
Yeah,
So when my sister died and I saw her body in a casket and it freaked me out, she was 19, died from a drunk driver, I was like, I don't know where my sister Bethany is, but that's freaking not her. Mm-hmm. That is a shell, a husk of the soul, the consciousness, the energy, the vibrant, beautiful being that was my sister.
Yeah.
Where is she?
Yeah.
That question, right? So for me, here's the answer that I like to share with people that was given to me in my life-changing session that I talk about in my TEDx talk, The Life-Changing Power of Words. Rishi, when's a time when you have been fully present, outwardly focused, outdoors in nature, seeing something beautiful, and perhaps you felt peace, awe, excitement. You weren't thinking about the past, the future, your grades, what you needed to do with your life. You were just enjoying living in the moment. What have you seen that captured your attention like that?
Honestly, so I support my football team, Arsenal. Every single time they play, that is the most present I'll ever be in my life.
Okay, so you love seeing that activity, like the people playing the football game. Everybody, okay, right? So it usually happens with concerts, sports, times in nature. Maybe sometimes somebody held their baby for the first time.
Yep.
They're dancing, right?
Oh, now I'm giving such a horrible answer. You're talking about people holding their first newborns, and I'm like, I love watching 11 men on a TV screen.
You haven't had a baby, right?
Yeah.
That's right. You know, so like you don't have that one to give. Anyway, dude. But like Rishi, what I'm suggesting is in that moment, your brain was not processing things in such a way that you needed to run, hide, play sick or dead or bite. It didn't engage your amygdala or your limbic system. You didn't need to feel sad or angry or ashamed. Your body wasn't trying to cause a physiological reaction to protect you in any way, and you got to simply be and breathe.
Yeah.
That is your purest way of being. Present, outwardly focused, automatically feeling peace, love, excitement, gratitude.
Yeah.
That is the non-judgmental observer. That's so if we think of your body like a car, but your consciousness, your soul, your spirit, your life force energy, there's a name for it in every culture, whether it's called soul or spirit or prana or chi. That consciousness, and I have several books on my bookshelf that are talking about all kinds of experiments about whether consciousness is located in the brain or whether it can be independent of the brain, like near-death experiences and all kinds of stuff, right? But like that non-judgmental observer that can't see things as right and wrong or good or bad, it just feels peace and it just feels appreciation and love, and it feels connection with the all, with source, with every living life force. That beautiful essence of you is who you are. Not one thought, not one behavior, not your accomplishments, not your relationships. It's not anything like that. That's you. That's spirit. And when you get that and you live from that and you go, how could I see things more that way? What activities bring that way of being out in me? How can I namaste, honor that being in someone else? How can I choose to think of it as sacred and beautifully divine and worthy? Like, so forget racism, forget sexism, forget classism. Like oneness. How could I be living and processing things more in a state of oneness, and how can I help teach my brain to be able to recognize when my body is in actual life-threatening immediate danger versus I just had a thought, I just had a sensation, there's something unexpected, unideal that came up. But how do I handle it from this conscious awareness place?
Yeah.
That's the best advice, I guess, I've ever had. That's what has set me on my life path. That's what I help people embody. How do you live from that space?
Yeah, is it like almost identifying that and trying to create that as much as possible? Correct.
Like literally trying to help peel back what's in the way of being that way.
Yeah.
That's what I'm on a mission of doing. Whether it's through therapeutic processes or whether it's through storytelling, if I create art, if I write a screenplay, it's to help people see through that lens and be that way and live that way.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, I'm fully on you about I wrote a whole it was for a philosophy class a few years ago, but I wrote a whole essay about why our source of humanity does not come from our body, but rather the brain. Because, like, let's say a person loses their arm, gets a bionic arm, they're still human, and let's say you keep going up that chain of every single part of their body gets replaced with a bionic piece of metal. At what point do they lose their humanity? In my eyes, they never do. It's all it's all up here. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah, Kristen, it's been an absolute honor to have you. I've had so much fun. Honestly, I need to find that clip, that serious clip in that moment, and just have that saved for my camera roll. All your links are going to be in the description, the TED Talk, everything. Kristen, what is next, and where can we find you?
KristenRivas.com, so it's spelled KristinRiv, V as in Victor, AS.
Yep.
And I have audios to give away, meditations and stuff like that, and people can find out if they would like some assistance, and stay in touch with me, my newsletter. But it's been a pleasure and an honor. Thank you for having me, Rishi.
You're the best, Kristen. Thank you so much.